Disney Plus Hotstar has about 10 times as many subscribers in India as Netflix does. 10 times? In a country of 1.4 billion people, one of the most valuable entertainment companies on earth is getting beaten badly by local competition. Hi, I'm Insin, and this is What Went Wrong, a documentary series where we dig into a real international marketing failures so the next generations of marketers doesn't repeat them. Today's case, Netflix in India. Let's get into it. Let's come through section A, company selection. Netflix is the company that basically invented modern streaming. It's in over 190 countries. It has around 300 million subscribers worldwide, and for most of the last decade, wherever Netflix went, it won. So why look at India? Because India is the exception. Netflix entered the India market in 2016 as part of its broader global expansion strategy, which is the same playbook it used almost everywhere else. But nearly a decade later, it's still a distant third of fourth place in a market that's projected to be worth $15 billion by the end of the decade. So the gap you just saw, Disney Plus Hotstar with roughly 10 times Netflix subscriber base, which isn't a small number, is one of the most prolonged, well-documented failures of an otherwise dominant global brand. And then, that make it a perfect case study for understanding what's happened when a company treats international expansion as a copy and paste instead of genuine localization. Section B, problem analysis. Let's start with the internal factors, which is the mistakes that were within Netflix's own control. First is pricing. When Netflix launched in India, it priced its plans almost identically to what it charged in the US or the UK, which is somewhere between 500 and 800 rupees a month. They sound cheap in dollars, but for the average India household, it was a premium price. Meanwhile, Disney Plus Hotstar offered a full year of access for under 1,000 rupees. Netflix wasn't just a little more expensive, it was pricing itself like a luxury product in one of the most price-sensitive markets on the planet. Second is content. Netflix did invest in original India content, but shows like Scare Games and Delhi Crime got real critical acclaim, even international attention. But the problem was skewed. Netflix Indian slate still small and mostly urban, English and Hindi focused, while competitors were pumping out dozens of regional language titles in Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, Marathi and more, which is actually reaching the breadth of India's population. And the third, probably the biggest miss of all, is live sport, specifically cricket. Netflix had essentially no presence in live sport, and Disney Plus Hotstar built massive chunks of its audience on cricket streaming rights. Joe Cinema later did the exact same thing. In India, cricket isn't just a sport, it's closer to a national religion, and Netflix simply wasn't in that conversation at all. Now, let's look at the external factors, the conditions in the market itself that Netflix was up against. Look at this comparison. Netflix priced around 5 to 800 rupees a month with an estimated 5 to 6 million subscribers in India. Disney Plus Hotstar essentially 500 rupees a year with over 46 million subscribers, and Joe Cinema often free or close to it, backed by $1.4 billion war chest from Reliance and one of India's largest conglomerates. And this wasn't a fair fight. A huge part of the reason is something called the Joe effect, which is around 2016. Reliance Jio flooded the India telecom market with extremely cheap mobile data, which suddenly gave hundreds of millions of new users access to streaming for the first time. But those new users were incredibly price sensitive because cheap data was the whole reason they were even online. On top of that, Netflix ran into cultural and regulatory frictions that it doesn't face in most Western markets. It had to edit or apologize for content that was seen as offensive to conservative sensibilities in India, which is an extra localization hurdle that its usual global content slate just wasn't built for. Put it simply, Netflix walked into a market shaped completely differently from the ones it had already conquered, and it didn't adjust fast enough. Section C, Strategy Evaluation. So, how did Netflix actually respond? 2016, Netflix enters India with global parity pricing, which is the same playbook it used everywhere else. So 2019, Netflix start offering short-term promotional discount, testing a 3-month trial pricing to attract the first-time user. So December 2021, Netflix made its biggest move, which is a genuinely aggressive price cut. So its basic plan dropped 60% from 499 rupees down to just 199 rupees a month. So its cheapest mobile, only the plan drops to 149 rupees. This was a real structural acknowledgement that the original pricing strategy had failed. And then 2024, Reliance and Disney merged a Joe Cinema and Disney Plus Hotstar into a single mega platform called Joe Hotstar, backed by their $1.4 billion investment, which is and the competitive gap widens even further. So, how do we evaluate this? The 2021 price cut was the right move. It directly addressed the core problem. Netflix had been pricing itself out of the mass market. But it came 5 years after Netflix entered India. By then, Hotstar and Joe Cinema had already built enormous loyal user base anchored and cricket by cricket and regional content. A price cut alone couldn't undo that head start. And here's the deeper issues. Netflix's response was reactive. It was about price and promotions. It didn't touch the structural gaps, no spot rights, still limit regional content. So, even after the correction, the fundamental reason Indian consumers choose Hotstar or Joe Cinema over Netflix was still there. Let's come to section D, alternative strategies. So, what should Netflix have done instead? So, number 1, localized pricing from day one. Instead of entering with global parity pricing and correcting it 5 years later, Netflix should have built purchasing power adjusted tiers into its India launch from the very start. Number 2, pursue spot rights or partnership. Netflix didn't need to outbid Disney for full cricket rights, but even a minority stake, a regional partnership, or a bundle sport offering could have given it a foothold in India's single biggest content category. So, for number 3, scale regional content much earlier. So rather than a handful of prestige, urban-focused originals, and Netflix need a generally broad, multi-language content strategy reaching a Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, not just Mumbai and Delhi. And number 4, bundle with local ecosystem. So Joe built its dominance by bundling video with telecom. Amazon bundles Prime Video with e-commerce and music. So for Netflix, as a standalone subscription, was competing against companies that had built entire ecosystem around their platform. A local telecom or retail partnership could have solved the distribution problem. None of these are complicated ideas in hindsight, but together they show that Netflix's core mistake wasn't a single bad decision, which is it was treating India like every other market instead of treating it like the unique price, sensitive, sport obsessed, linguistically diverse market that it actually is. So, what went wrong? Netflix didn't fail in India because of one bad decision. It failed because it exported a global playbook into a market that needs something different from the start, which is different pricing, different content, a different distribution strategy entirely. And by the time it started to fix that, competitors already had a 5-year head start. The lesson for anyone going into international marketing and for us in this class is simple. Global success doesn't guarantee a local success. Localization isn't a checkbook you tick after you launch. It has to be baked into the strategy from day one, or you spend a year trying to buy back the ground you lose. Thank you for watching What Went Wrong. I'm Yin Xin. Before we wrap up, here is the disclaimer for this video. Thanks for watching.